Okay, let's continue with number 29 as we enter the level 3 portion of this ACT math practice. These level 3 questions, as they sound, are going to be the hardest questions on this section. They're going to require that we not only have mastery of our fundamentals, but also that we have the ability to form intricate deductions based off of the little bits of information they will give us, and also be able to do a lot of the work on our own instead of going off of what the question gives us as we have done in previous questions. So let's get started with number 29. Number 29. What are all the values of x for which 5x is less than x? So off the bat, I want to sort of box in this entire section. My paper cut in half, so that's why I'm having to do this. So all the values of x. What this tells me is that I'm not looking for a single value of x, but rather a range of possible numbers that can be substituted to x that fit the stipulation 5x is less than x. So with that said, with having done the first step in identifying important information in the question, let's get on to our second step, which is finding a first number that can be substituted for x that can fit the stipulation. And off the top of my head, I can think of -1, because when I see the coefficient 5 in front of that x, and I see the less than sign, I know that if I were to place any negative number inside of the x value, I would be able to yield the correct product for the given inequality given. Because -1, if I were to plug that in, that would give me 5 of -1 is less than -1. Well, yeah. And -5 is less than -1 will be my product, which is correct. So we know that if we were to plug in -1, we would get the correct answer. So -1 works. And with that bit of information already done by ourselves, we can now look at the answer choices and eliminate the ones we know will be definitely wrong. So A, x equals 0. We can definitely rule this one out because x can also equal -1. And if the answer choice just says 0, then that can't be the correct answer. So A, we can eliminate that. X is less than 0. I'm having a hunch about this because I have a hunch that this is the correct answer. Because I know that if I were to plug in any number less than 0, so any negative number, like -7 or -8, I would yield a product that fits the stipulation. Because if we were to go with -5, for example, and go with 5, negative, I think it's a -5, is less than -5, you would get -25 is less than -5, which does add up. So while we're very confident that this may be the correct answer, we don't want to shoot straight to circling B because the other answers might be as tempting. But let's see. Let's look at answer choice C. X is less than 1/5. So x is less than 1/5. What numbers does that encompass? That encompasses the negative numbers definitely, but it also encompasses 0, which we need to plug in to see if it adds up. So let's do that. We're to plug in 0 in for x. We would get 5 times 0 is less than 0. And that simplifies to 0 is less than 0. Which is wrong because 0 can't be less than 0 because 0 is 0. It can only be equal to 0. And for that reason, we can eliminate answer choice C. And also, using the information we've been able to garner, we can formulate another deduction based on what we see from answer choices D and E. Because answer choices D and E also encompass 0. Because x is less than 1, that encompasses 0 all the way to the negatives. And the same for x is less than or equal to 1, also encompasses 0. So if any answer choice after this encompasses 0, if any answer choice has 0 within one of its ranges, we can eliminate that answer choice because we know 0 does not work. And with that said, we can eliminate answer choices D and E, which leaves us with the answer choice B, which we had a hunch about all along as our correct answer. You can tackle this problem many ways. I just chose the simplest one. And also, if you're looking at answer choice B in the beginning and automatically knew off the bat that that was the correct answer, you should most likely go ahead and circle it and get on with the test. Whenever you do take it, I decided to go through all the other answer choices because it's important that y'all be introduced to the idea of being able to deduce based off of the little bits of information y'all have. But let's continue with number 40. So number 40. What are the solutions to a squared plus 2 is less than 5? So we have to find solutions for a range of solutions for a that can be plugged into the formula and yield results that are less than 5. So the basic idea of this question is to look at it like we would look at a regular algebraic equation. So like we've done with the previous questions, by looking at the less than sign as if it were a regular equal sign, it simplifies our approach to it. And also remembering how to work with exponents, which I'm about to go further into as I simplify this equation. So let's simplify this. A squared plus 2 is less than 5. We have to isolate the a squared, or just the a. So we're going to subtract 2 to both sides, and we're left with a squared is less than 3. Now, when we're left with a squared is less than 3, the opposite, we have to do the opposite operation of the a squared. So the opposite of exponent is going to be square root. So we're going to square root both sides, and we're going to be left with a is less than root 3, plus or minus than root 3. And we do plus or minus because if we're to either multiply root 3 by root 3, we would get 3. And if we were to also multiply negative root 3 by 3, we would also get 3. So when it comes to exponents, we can look at it like this, for example. Negative 2 squared and 2 squared. We know that negative 2 times negative 2 is going to be a positive 4. You know that positive 2 times positive 2 is also going to be a positive 4. So when it comes to square roots, just remember that you always have solutions at both ends of the number line, both positive and negative. And now with this information given to us, let's look at our answer choices. So we're looking for a range of solutions that can be substituted in for a, and we're left with our solutions positive root 3 and negative root 3. So let's go down the list. F negative root 3 is less than a is less than positive root 3. Looks pretty alluring. I'm just going to keep a little check mark by that. G, negative 3 is less than or equal to a is less than or equal to root 3. While it looks the same as answer choice F, it is important that you look at these equal signs that they try to slip in, because our solutions aren't for a squared plus 2 is less than or equal to 5. It's less than 5. So if you see any less than or equal than signs in any of the answer choices, you know they're wrong because they're going to include the root 3 and the negative root 3. So that is going to be wrong. And let's look at answer choice H. Negative root 3 is greater than a and root 3 is less than a. Looks pretty weird. I'm not sure about it, but let's just look at it straight for now. I guess a check minus would fit. And negative root 3 is greater than or equal to a, and root 3 is less than or equal to a. Once again, you see the equal than sign along with the regular greater than or less than sign. Since we're only dealing with the less than sign in the question, you can already eliminate this answer choice. And answer choice K, a equals root 3 and a equals negative root 3. You can eliminate this answer choice, one, because this work is not, when we work with this type of thing, that leaves us with when we work with linear inequalities, they're not leading us to simply two solutions. They're leading us to the range of solutions that encapsulate the actual solutions, if that makes any sense. So what that means is that if we were to actually plug in root 3 for a, we would get root 3 squared, which is 3 plus 2 is less than 5. That does not add up, because 5 is not less than 5. 5 equals 5. And for that simple reason, K is not the wrong answer. So, being left with these final two answers, F. A lot of y'all who have already worked with this type of question probably already know that F is the correct answer. But as to why H is not the correct answer, well, first I want to go over as to why F is the correct answer. One, if we were to plug in any values in between, if we were to plug in any values that encapsulate the inequality given to us, so root 2 or root 1, if we were to plug those in to A, we would get 1 squared plus 2 is less than 5. And as we can tell through basic math, 1 plus 2 is less than 5, because 3 is less than 5. And similarly with root 2, we would get 2 plus 2 is less than 5, which is true, because 4 is less than 5. And as for H, H includes negative root 3 is greater than Y, and positive root 3 is less than A. It's a very weird way to set things up. Plus, H encapsulates answer choices that exceed the ranges of F, and for that reason, F is going to be our correct answer choice. That was pretty fun to go over, because we got to use a lot of the strategies we've been working on. But let's continue with number 41, hopefully with a quicker pace. Number 41, if the absolute value of x minus 2 equals x, then what is the value of x? So, important information, this absolute value box right there. And also, what is the value of x? So we're only dealing with one singular value of x, not a range this time. So, the way I usually go about solving these type of questions is trying to use the answer choices as leverage. What I mean by that is not trying to go off of my immediate hunch right off the bat, not trying to go with my immediate mental substitution for the x value right off the bat, but rather using these answer choices. So, starting from the middle, 0. If I were to plug in 0 in for negative 2, if I were to plug in 0 in for x, I would end up getting the absolute value of negative 2 is equal to 0. So, and as we can see, negative 2 is not equal to 0, so we know that's wrong. And if we were to go lower and go down to 1, we would see, if we were to plug in 1, we would get 1 minus 2. The absolute value of 1 minus 2 equals 1. And the absolute value of 1 minus 2 would be the absolute value of negative 1. And the absolute value of negative 1 is 1. So what this shows is that 1 equals 1. And just like that, we got D as our answer. Also, if you already felt off the bat that you should plug in 1, you should go ahead and do so. 1 was immediately my hunch when I first looked at this problem, but I wanted to just feel out the other answer choices. 1 is your correct answer choice here. This one wasn't that difficult to get through. As long as you were able to either use the answer choices for leverage or plug in your own x value that just happened to be correct, you should have been fine. But let's get on with this last question. Number 52, the last one. Whenever parentheses x plus 5 times parentheses x minus 2 is less than 0, which of the following expressions has a negative value? So, important information. Which of the expressions has a negative value? So, when we're looking for our answer choices, we have to look for the answer choice that yields a negative value given the substitution we've been able to make. So let's look at this. The first step we've already done, boxing any important information. Now the second step is finding a value that can be substituted for x plus 5 times x minus 2 is less than 0. We now have to find a value for x that can be substituted to yield this type of result. So let's do that. Off the bat, I'm thinking of 1, because if I were to go with 1, I would get 1 plus 5, which is 6, times 1 minus 2, which is negative 1. So let me write that down. 1 minus 2 is less than 0. I would get that 6 times negative 1 is less than 0. And negative 6 is in fact less than 0. So I know that 1 works. I have my value, 1. It's a value I can work on. It's a value I can rely on. So with that said, now that we already have our value for x substituted, let's go down these line of answer choices and see if our x, and see which one of these expressions can yield a negative value. So let's start with f. For those who can't see that, it's an x squared root 4. So x to the 4th minus 1. So 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is obviously going to equal 1. There's no increase there. And minus 1, that equals 0, which is not a negative value. So we can eliminate that answer choice. Now g, 3 times x. 3x, 3 times 1 is going to equal 3. That doesn't yield a negative answer choice, so we're going to eliminate that. X plus 4, 1 plus 4, that's going to equal 5. Not a correct answer choice. Not a negative value. And then j, x plus 3, 1 plus 3 is going to equal 4. Another non-negative value. And now we're at answer choice k, which is x minus 3. And if we were to multiply 1 minus 3, we would get negative 2, which is in fact a negative value. So you can go ahead and circle that for your answer choice.